Hey guys, Robert with the Man Factory, and in this video I'm going to be giving you a little tour of the small raspberry patch where I'm picking berries right now in my family garden. So this raspberry patch is not as big as the one we used to have when I was growing up as a kid. My dad actually sold raspberries, pick your own raspberries, and he had 3 very long rows, but we don't do that anymore. This small row here in their vegetable garden is kind of the last remnants of that tradition, but there's still quite a few berries here. So I'm out here. It's just before 6 in the morning, as you can probably tell by my face, and I'm just picking some berries for my wife and I to use in making some preserves and some jams so we can enjoy these raspberries all year long. The patch is really coming into its own here in mid-July, as it usually does, despite the fact that it's been very dry this summer. One reason the berries are still growing so well, even with very little rain, is that we've got this irrigation line hooked up, which spreads along the entire patch. Drip irrigation, just letting out small amounts of water every, I don't know, I think 18 inches or so, to keep the patch watered and fresh and growing nice sweet berries. Part of the technique here is to make sure you get all of the berries that are ripe, even the ones that aren't necessarily visible at first glance. And doing that involves squatting down here, another great reason to have good hip mobility, besides squatting in the gym, and lifting up the plants from the bottom. And you can see that I've revealed several berries there that are ripe that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So doing a thorough job is important. You don't want to be leaving ripe berries to fall off the canes and rot just because you didn't take the trouble to look hard enough for them. I like to pick a handful at a time. That's not a full handful, of course, but once I get several in my hand, I go down to my bowl and gently put them in. I don't just dump them in because the berries will start to crush under their own weight and being dropped into the bowl, and no one wants crushed berries. At least not until we make them into jam. The berries themselves are fairly delicate, so proper picking technique involves just very gently popping them off of their little stalk like that. It's been a little over an hour now since I started picking. It's just after 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'll probably pick for another hour or so before I quit, before it starts to get too hot, so I can get my bowl hopefully most of the way filled up. Besides getting delicious, fresh, homegrown berries for making preserves and jams and things, one of the biggest benefits of work like this, I find, is that it's so monotonous. Now you might wonder how that's a benefit. Well, it's been my observation that in this day and age, we're way too addicted to screens and smartphones and constant entertainment. And my generation, the millennial generation, tends to be kind of the worst for that, stereotypically. So for myself, I find that doing this sort of boring, monotonous, and yet useful work fairly regularly is it's a mentally strengthening exercise. I am better able to handle all sorts of jobs that I'm maybe not too keen on doing if I get practice doing stuff like this. You know, and some people would probably say, this is really boring and who would want to do it? Yeah, it is a little boring, but It's also nice to sit with my own thoughts every once in a while and plan for the future and, let my mind wander and come up with my next article idea. Any number of things that I can accomplish mentally while I'm doing this fairly mentally uninvolved job. And that, to me, is one of the biggest benefits of work like this. Well, I've been picking for about 2.5 hours now, since about 5:45 this morning, and here are the very literal fruits of my labor. So I don't quite have the salad bowl full, but it's full enough, and it'll certainly keep my wife busy making delicious preserves for a while. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of my raspberry picking morning, and maybe you've been inspired to do some monotonous, boring work yourself for the physical and mental benefits. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.